Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at creating a wall style, and we're going to go ahead and insert that into our project as well. So let's get started. Up here on the architectural tab, we're just going to click on our wall tool, and we're going to be creating our architectural wall to lay out the exterior wall in this video. So we're just going to start. I know that we're going to create a brick on metal stud wall type. So we're going to start from one of the system families here. And I'm just going to insert a little piece of this wall actually into my project, just for us to take a look at. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on this wall, and you see we don't see any of the components that actually make it up. So remember down here, we actually want to take a look at the detail in medium and fine. And if I just come up here to my view tab, I want to, right now my wall is very thick. I just wanted to get rid of the line weight so that we can just take a look at the components. Now you can see that metal stud with the airspace and brick in this wall type. But let's take a closer look at the menu of how we would go about creating our own wall style from this wall style. So let's click on the wall, and we're going to hit edit type here. Under edit type, the first thing I want to do to create the wall for this project, because I want to create a wall that's project specific, I'm going to duplicate. You always want to duplicate your families when you're coming into a project and you're going to be creating a wall specifically for. So I'm going to name these all after the building that we're modeling here. And this is still going to be a brick on metal stud wall type. So I'm going to click OK. And then edit structure. So here's our edit assembly menu, and I'm going to make sure that I'm capturing it on the screen. But this, I want to explain a little bit of this menu so that it makes sense as we start manipulating. So the first thing I want to point out is the core boundary. The core boundary, you'll see it's like, let's zoom this in a little bit so that I can bring up my preview and in section. So if I click on my core boundary now, you're going to see that there's really only one layer that should be between that core boundary, and that's going to be whatever is the structural layer. So when I come down to the structural material column, you'll see it's checked, and the only thing that occurs within the core boundary is our metal stud. This becomes more important even as we go about doing our dimensioning, but what we're going to do is we know that we have a 6-inch metal stud for the wall that we're using. And then we know on the inside face, if you look here, you're seeing like the layers of our wall, this being the inside and this being the outside. Right now we don't have, on the inside, right now we have gyp wall board. We want to change the thickness for commercial. We're just going to change this to a 5/8 inch for our project. So if I change that thickness, but you'll see right here, this function category actually controls how our walls clean up and interact with other walls that they interface with and intersect with in the project. So this way, there's pretty much a priority system. To try to simplify it and explain it, is there's a priority system that whatever is the structure is going to cut through any other prioritized material in the project. So if I click this drop down, you'll see all the different priority levels that are given to different components that you can assign to a component in the project. So we know on our inside, we're going to have our commercial gyp, then we're going to have our metal stud. And if I scroll back up here, then we're going to have our sheathing. And I believe we actually specified a 1/2-inch sheathing. And then we actually have a 2-inch airspace. And our brick on the outside. So you see we can come in here, and if we, for example, if we had, a larger airspace, we could make that. If we, any of the components that we need to change here, we could go about changing. But I think that we have everything that we need for ours. I would actually come back if I needed a 4-inch metal stud, whatever you need. I would duplicate an existing family and come into this menu and just begin to modify primarily this thickness category, and you're going to be assigning a material. So if this was some other material, if I click here, you'll see it's going to bring up my material browser, and I could actually change what the material is. So these are all my materials that are showing up in the project, and you'll see I can actually, I can type in wood stud to find a material for. So here you'll see my plywood sheathing and other wood materials. So this entire material library base is going to have, you can pretty much query any material that you're looking for. Okay, and then I'm going to click OK. Now that we have this family set up, and I'm going to click OK in this menu as well. And now we have our initial wall type. Next thing I want us to do, let's go ahead and start using this wall. So if I right click on the wall, I can do create similar, or you can always come back up to architectural and click on architectural wall, and you can start from here, just making sure that your properties are selected for the wall type that we've created now, this ACME exterior, which is why I wanted to make sure we were naming them so that these names make sense to us in the end. I'm actually going to use the finish face exterior for laying out this initial wall for a couple reasons. One, I do know we have an offset. If I wanted to start laying out this wall from the column grid, I know that we have an offset of 1'5". So if I give myself a 1'5" in this offset category, and just begin to select this wall even, and we're going to take this wall up to top of parapet. It knows the base constraint. We can specify it here in the properties menu, and it knows our top of constraint based on what we just specified here. It's going to go all the way up to top of parapet. Location line, finish face exterior. And we'll just go ahead and draw our walls in. Based on our column line. And you'll see Revit just going ahead and inserting these walls. There we are, remembering that our walls work very similar. So I had started down here at an ambiguous point just to be able to demonstrate you can use these modify tools, on our modify tab, for if you're coming from an AutoCAD background, very similar. I'm using my AutoCAD, but I can use it with my walls actually. So all these commands are very similar. You'll see that we have our align, move, copy, rotate, and trim commands, all very familiar to us. And there you go. We've set up our initial wall type that we need here for our exterior walls. And we would repeat the process for our interior walls, just taking a look at the components that would make them up. Remember, you begin with duplicating a wall type that most closely reflects what you're looking for, just to minimize the amount of modification you have to do once you get into your edit type properties menu for that wall. I hope this video has been helpful for you.